Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of From the District with State Senator Suzanne Weber. Senator, how are you?
Well, I'm not enjoying the wind. I have
Yeah,
I have three palm trees in the backyard, and they in these high winds, especially east winds, they lose a lot of their fronds. And so I have been spending a lot of time picking up uh, palm fronds from the backyard. And then the rain comes at you sideways. The east wind. It's not a pleasant day outside.
we should probably note that we're recording this on a Saturday afternoon.
Right,
Uh,
right.
this is not a session day.
No,
Senator Weber does not have time to pick up palms in the back of her
no, I
backyard
don't.
during session. So,
And I have to tell you that that's in between the brunch this morning and going and looking at all the silent auction items that are at the high school for the sophomore class, because this is charity drive, 10 days, Tillamook. The kids are out there making a lot of money, and I'm sure they'll be well over $150,000 in that 10 days.
I remember those days. I
Yes,
remember I remember as a student doing that. And it is, and I remember just as a community member, you don't you shouldn't ever have to cook during those 10.
exactly.
Um which is always it's an absolutely wonderful time, and then the kids just do amazing work, and the adults involved do amazing work. We shouldn't It's
Right.
amazing what the kids
It's
do, but we should never forget what those
exactly.
adults are doing too.
And then we also have to remember what the money goes to. One third of it goes, no, one half of it goes to Dornbecker.
Right.
And um, there is a Tillamook room at Dornbecker's Children's Hospital. And we raise money to keep that room going. And then the other half is divided between scholarships. And I'll tell you, if you apply for a scholarship in Tillamook, you're most likely going to get one from the charity drive.
Right.
And then the other one goes to 501c3s and charitable organizations. That's what the other quarter of that money goes to.
In the
To be
community.
able, yeah, to be able to help support all of the people that make this possible, because they all churches donate their dining rooms and all of their public areas to be able to house all these people. So
Absolutely. It really is awesome. It's uh, and I'm glad you're able to be there for a weekend, because you don't get to really enjoy it during the week,
right.
because it is short session, which is why we are doing these on a weekly basis. We usually do these videos monthly during the interim, but when we are in session, we try to do them weekly, and we send out our newsletters weekly. So I have made it my Lenten resolution to make these briefer. No
Yeah.
one's complained about them, but I've just felt like we can sometimes go off on tangents. And
Well, we can go off on tangents, but we have to realize that even though the legislature is not in session, there's a lot of things happening on the legislative scene.
right, so there is a lot to talk about, and when we do them monthly, there's a lot to talk about, because
Yes.
we haven't talked for a month. But still, we have a lot to talk about in terms of legislation. So let's go ahead and get into it. One thing that I think has been particularly in the news in the coastal part of your district has been the issue of recreational immunity.
Yes.
It's really been something we've heard a lot from cities and from tourist organizations. Could you give some folks an idea of what recreational immunity is, what happened, and how the legislature is working on fixing it?
Recreational immunity is something that will protect the municipalities, the park areas, the school playgrounds from someone getting hurt and a major lawsuit against that. Um, how this all started was because of a lawsuit in the Newport area, and someone fell down on a trail. So that provides the opportunity with that lawsuit for other people to realize that if they fall down and if they hurt themselves, um, the municipality or the park district or the school playground has to be ultimately responsible. Well, yes, they do have to be ultimately responsible for the safety, but it also takes away the ability for people to enjoy those things because there is the fear of litigation. If you drive up the coast right now along Highway 101, you will see many areas and you that are that have caution tape on them. They're closed because we have many areas along the coast, especially that have hiking trails and places to go down to the beach that aren't paved and uh, extremely safe. And so these areas now are all closed off, and we're going to have summertime again, and we're going to have a lot of people wanting to come and enjoy the outdoors. We're going to have people wanting to go to playgrounds. We're going to have people that are, going to be on the beach. We cannot be litigated against for everyone's accident and still maintain the recreational facilities that we have for people to enjoy. So
Right. So long and short of it,
it's been a big push
yeah,
when everybody realized what was going to happen as a result of that lawsuit. And so there is an amendment to Senate Bill 1576. And that will hopefully make this more palatable, and so that once again the trails and all of the facilities can be opened up. Um, Hopefully that will pass. Like I said, it's Senate Bill 1576. You can look it up on OLIS and you can read it so you have the exact verbiage of what's going to happen in that amendment, to be able to, well, it's not only the people that come to the coast that enjoy those trails, it's the people who live here too. And so those people are being punished by not being able to take advantage of those things also.
right. So long story short, the concept of recreational immunity was that if people you are going to be using these public recreational areas, the public entities attached to them are immune from being sued. That was the theory. That was a long-held theory for a long time. And then this court case, which you had mentioned in Newport, blew that whole thing up.
Yes.
So the entire concept of recreational immunity went away, which is why you've been seeing these trails and other things closed. Senate Bill 1576 is up. Is up for a work session. So difference. There's a little
Yeah.
Oregon Legislature 101. A public hearing is a chance for the legislators in the committee to hear from the public, to hear from lobbyists, to hear from the general public, to their opinion on a bill. That has already occurred. Then there is a work session. A work session is where the legislators actually talk amongst themselves at the bill and then vote whether to pass it, amend it, don't pass it. So that bill is going to be up for work session on the 19th. There's a good chance if you're hearing this, it's already happened. I feel very confident that bill will pass committee. It's just a matter getting it through the rest of the system in such a short amount of time.
Right.
So,
and taking into consideration all of the aspects, the tourists, the municipalities, the people who live here. I mean, I will tell you that is the number 2 question that I have been asked about in the last several weeks, because municipalities especially and park districts and counties are very concerned about this.
right, and recreation is just such a huge part of your district, or at least
a
huge part of your district. So it is very important. It is something you've taken a keen interest in, and people may have asked, well, is Senator Weber sponsoring that bill? No, she's not. And here's why. This is a
Right.
committee bill. Committee bills are bills that are sponsored by committees. And you cannot co-sponsor a committee bill. So certainly know that, I'm sorry, Senator Weber, I've gone back in time for a minute. Senator Weber 100% supports that bill, 100% supports that amendment. However, she's not sponsoring because she can't, not because
Right.
she doesn't want to. So, so that will be up soon. So, praying that is dealt with, so that those trails open again, particularly as we're getting closer and closer to spring break.
And see, this is the goal of the short session. If we're doing legislature 101 again, to do fixes on things.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we've got some big fixes coming, but this is a very important fix, especially for our district.
Absolutely. Well, there's a few other bills that we want to ask people to help on.
Yes.
First one is one of your priority bills, Senate Bill 1556. We talked about this last week, so we don't have to talk about it too much today.
Right.
But it had a public hearing, and thank you
Yes.
to everybody who came. I think it was commented on that you won the award for having most people come and testify in your bill.
Yes, I did.
Which
It was very heartwarming, but it also points out the fact that once again, we have to take action, especially on our highways.
Yes, so this is the bill that would just have a study be done on Highway 30, just like we did a few years ago when you were in the House, a study bill on Highway 6. Now that study has been completed, we have a list of projects that we can now start working with community leaders to prioritize for funding. That's exactly what we needed to do to actually get some action on repairing the highway. That's exactly what we want to do on Highway 30. So that is up. That bill is up for a work session on Tuesday. So here's what we'd like everybody here to do: is you can go to OregonLegislature.gov, and
Right.
then you can click the OLIS button, and you can search for committees. And you want to search for the Joint Committee on Transportation. It's called a Joint Committee because it has members of the House and the Senate on it. Email all of the members of that committee and ask them to please pass Senate Bill 1556. They're going to be voting on this on Tuesday. So if you are hearing this,
yes,
go ahead.
And by passing, that means it's going to go out of committee. And since there is money that is going to be needed to accomplish this, it's going to go to the Ways and Means Committee, Ways and Means for Transportation.
Right.
And then it'll be decided how much money is going to be needed to accomplish this and whether that money is going to be available.
Right.
It's got more hurdles to be able to jump over before we get there.
The positive thing is that it generally will, because it's gone through a joint committee, will not have to be so much into the committee process when it goes to the House. God willing that it passes the Senate, because it's gone through a joint committee and through Ways and Means. So where we're at right now is the really integral part. If we can get it through transportation and get it through Ways and Means, right, after that, I'm not want to say it's smooth sailing, but it's a heck of a lot easier than it is over these next couple of weeks. So really encourage you to reach out to the members of the Joint Committee on Transportation and ask them to vote yes on Senate Bill 1556.
Yes.
So we have that one.
Yes.
We also have another one that, gosh, we wish this could mean more, but it's a start. House Bill 4106. You co-sponsored this with Representative Javity, co-chief sponsor, so you were one of the lead sponsors, with Representative Javity from Tillamook, your confrere from Tillamook, as well as Representative Owens from over in Eastern Oregon. This bill would require that the Board of Forestry set sustainable harvest limits for state forests. This is an important bill.
It is a very important bill.
Unfortunately, it will not pass this session. that it has passed the deadline.
Right.
In order to be considered a possible a work session need to have been scheduled by last Monday. A work session
Right.
was not scheduled.
It
A public
was
was scheduled. So this is what we call a courtesy hearing. It's not going to pass, but we're going to have a public hearing about it so we can at least air out some of these issues.
right.
And so I think it's really important that we at least get people out there to voice their opinions about it.
Right. Right. Because the state has not been harvesting up to the limits that it could have been harvesting. And that's something that is, that is taking away revenue, especially from our school districts and our small districts and our county governments.
There's an article here a week or so ago. I think it was in the Daily Historian. It may have been in another publication about the school district of Jewel.
Yes.
This tiny school district, tiny school district that relies heavily on these timber receipts.
Yes.
And when the Board of Forestry does not bring in the amount of money that it is supposed to bring in, it is crushing to these little school districts.
They could lose as much as 70% of their funding, which is huge when you look at the total picture.
Right.
You got to look at another aspect of that too. And is if they don't have that funding to be able to continue, then the funding is going to have to come from the, state school fund. So by taking it from the state school fund instead of from the timber money, then you are decreasing the amount of money that is available for schools that are supported through the state school fund. And so you are reducing the amount of revenue that each of our school districts get in.
So if you're in Portland, if you're in Salem, if you're in Eugene, if you're in any of these school districts, you should care about this.
Yes.
This is not just a Northwest rural Oregon thing, because just as the senator said, there's a requirement to fund schools at a sustainable level. And can you imagine, if you're not in Jewel, can you imagine your school district is told, sorry, everybody, you're going to have to cut your budget by 70%. 70%.
Well, there go your first of all, there go your teachers.
Yeah.
And eventually there go your students too, because there will most likely not be employment available for the parents in that area to be able to sustain living there.
Right. So this is an existential crisis.
Yes.
It's very unfortunate that, forgive me, radical environmentalists have decided that it's okay to crush an entire school district,
right?
Because they want to get their way.
Well, as a result of not harvesting to the current level, look at what has happened to the mill in Banks. It's the same thing.
Yep, it's spotted owl all over again.
Yes,
it really is, where we are seeing communities being crushed because.
I have listened over and over again to the people in Southern Oregon who lived through the spotted owl crisis, and how the promises that they were made to be able to become whole again that were never realized, and how they suffered through it and they continue to suffer through it as a result of what happened.
Right.
Is this what's going to happen here? Is it going to kill our economy?
And I think it's important to remember this is Jewel. They're the ones who are in an existential crisis, but Neoconi has a huge amount of money that comes from timber.
And so does
too. The Stucca does too. It is really a huge deal. And if you don't have a school district that is funded by timber receipts, okay, but that money to fund these school districts is going to come from somewhere, and it's going to come from the state fund. Yes. Which means that your school district is going to get less money.
Right.
So we should care about this, no matter where. So the
Yes.
public hearing is Tuesday the 20th, Tuesday, February 20th at 3 p.m. You can testify virtually. You can go into OLIS. And this is in the committee with perhaps the longest name, the House Committee on Agriculture, Land Use, Natural Resources, and Water. We just call it the House Ag Committee. So if you just tell people you want to testify the House Ag Committee, people understand. You can do it virtually. You can just submit written testimony. You can come to Salem if you are able to do that. But you can go ahead and if you just go to when you're in OLIS and go to bills, type in HB 4106. You can, on the top of the banner there, it'll have the menu overview, text, analysis, amendments. If you want to testify, you just click the register to testify. And if you're gonna testify in person, you can say that. If you testify virtually, you say that. Or if you just want to submit written testimony, you just click the other tab, submit testimony. So HB 4106 on OLIS, you'll be able to get your testimony in there. Again, Tuesday the 20th at 3 p.m. Really would like to get everybody's voice there as much as possible. So there are a few other bills that are not really up, either have been up already, but they're of concern because you've been getting a heck of a lot
of them
of emails about at least two of these.
Yes.
Let's talk first about HJR 201.
Yes.
So this bill,
it's a
constitutional amendment.
It's a constitutional amendment.
It is a referral,
which will require a referendum.
Yeah. So if the House and Senate were to pass this, it would be sent to the people to vote on. What this would do would create a statewide property tax. Now, now, property taxes are levied by the counties, right?
Right.
Counties collect the funds. They collect them. They'll often share them with the small districts. If there's been a bond for a certain project, for a certain thing, that money will be farmed out. But that's all handled to the county. I think the purpose of this, the recipient of this proposed tax is a laudable one, that being law enforcement. So I think we can all support that. We want to make sure that law enforcement have the funds they need. But is a statewide property tax the right direction to go, Senator?
No, it's not. That's, of course, my opinion, and that is the opinion of the majority of my constituents. I did have one person who told me they thought it was finally a good idea. I disagree with them. But like I said, if it goes through, it is a referendum, which means you as taxpayers will vote on this. This is a result of the work that was done by a special committee to look at additional revenue, especially to support our law enforcement and our forestry, and other issues related. But like I say, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think that the people of Oregon will think it's a good idea. And we'll wait and see.
I would posit that if the precedent was set that the state could levy a property tax, the state would levy a lot of property taxes.
Yes. They're talking about $10 a property. Then now, you know how they operate.
Yeah. Right. So HJR 201, it has had a public hearing. It is not scheduled for a work session.
Nope.
It's in the House. It hasn't moved anywhere in that committee. It is in House Rules Committee, which means House Rules Committee is one of those committees that has no time limit. Right. They could vote on that 5 days before the end of session, and it could still move. So we're definitely keeping an eye on it. And certainly You've gotten a lot of emails Senate is watching it. Staff is watching it. I personally, as someone who's watched and been part of the legislature for a long time, I don't think it's going anywhere. Doesn't mean you're not watching it.
Hey, crazier things have happened.
Regularly.
Yes.
Okay, so that is HJR 201. That's a bill that probably isn't going anywhere. Now on to a bill that unfortunately probably is going somewhere. SB 1583. This is a bill that would essentially prevent school districts from limiting certain books in their library.
And you know, you want to talk about the power of the people. If you look at the testimony for this bill, and I think it would behoove everyone to go in and read this bill and think about the ramifications of it. There are well over 2,000 pieces of testimony that have been admitted for this bill. Now, about 1,500 of them are in favor of this bill. And probably around 500, I think the last time I counted, it was right around 500 that were against it. We have a lot of good people that are really looking at this with the intention of that this is going to go forward. It most likely will pass. It has a very liberal leaning voice that is embedded in this.
So I think you bring up a really good point, that there's 2,000 pieces of testimony and 3/4 of it are in favor. So when we say, please go testify, please go submit testimony, this is why. It's very difficult for us to come back and say, this is bad, the people don't want it, when it's thrown right back in our face to say, what are you talking about? 3/4 of the people have testified and say it's a great idea. What do we say to that? It's so important that if you are opposed to a bill, that you voice that and not voice it through the system.
The proper way. Yeah.
Facebook doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
So
we also submitted an amendment to this.
Yes.
It's a -3, which means it is the third amendment that was put out for consideration, and that there's 2 before and there's 1 after. And right now, the Fourth Amendment, the -4 is the one that's being considered. Ours was not considered. And what our hope was to accomplish that age and developmentally appropriate would be inserted in there, inserted into the language, which would make it more palatable.
Right.
So that would be considered when you were looking at all of these books. And Emily McIntyre submitted the -2, and hers, she is very concerned about we just talked about recreational immunity. She's thinking about how school boards especially could be left open to lawsuits if, depending upon how they go on this. And so, you have 10 books that are available on whatever subject, and you only pick 5, and they aren't the 5 that a group of people wanted to be selected to put in your library, your school library. So then are you leaving yourself open as a school board member to being sued because you picked the wrong 5? The 5 that they didn't like? I mean, it's a bizarre equation.
So what I think what you and Representative McIntyre have been trying to do here is, with the recognition that the bill will probably pass, trying to insert some safety measures in here to try to make it so I don't think there's a world where you vote for this bill. That's not what we're talking about. What we're trying to do is recognize the reality, because I mean when people like start pitchforks shaking their hands, kill this bill, kill this bill. When there are fewer Republicans than there are Democrats, chances are, as long as the Democrats stick together, the bill is going to pass.
Yeah.
That's math. That's very, very, very simple math. We can't kill the bill. What we can try to do is make it a little bit more palatable, make it so we can protect some of the interests, make it a little less bad.
Right.
Unfortunately, your bill, as your amendment, you said, just wanted to say that any material that is chosen needs to be developmentally and age appropriate. That was not selected, and it was not selected, interestingly enough, because the sponsors of the bill said that's already true. That's already the way it is in statute. That's interesting, and we're looking into that. However, we still have a lot of questions about this bill that we want to have answered, and we intend to get them answered on the record.
Right, and there was a statement that was issued by the person who proposed the bill, but we don't know if that is legally exactly what the law, what the Department of Education has in mind. And so, like you said, we have analysts that are studying this bill and studying what it was that the author of the bill wanted and relayed in his testimony.
Right. So, obviously, there's nothing saying that the bill will 100% pass, but if it's a priority of leadership, of the Democratic leadership, it usually is going to pass because there's just more Democrats than there are Republicans in the legislature right now.
And it was pointed out to me that this is supposed to be a time of bills that small fixes and budget bills. That's what the short session is for. This bill, if you read it, has huge implications.
Right. Yeah. I remember Betsy Johnson just railing on things like that. Like, really upset that we were told short session, little budget fix because we do biennial budgets. Recreational immunity, big thing blew up before, and we couldn't take care of it last session. Totally makes sense. That's we need to fix that. Yeah, these are little fixes that should be done, not big ideas and concepts. Right. Wish that was there. Here's another little fix. This is a bill that has passed out of committee. We're very excited. You're one of the chief sponsors. HB 4094 would allow for the issuing of Q bonds, which are a special type of bond that the state issues and can particularly be used right now for the building of new courthouses. The reality is, a lot of places don't need a new courthouse,
right?
Or their courthouse is architecturally or socially part of the community important.
Yes.
What they really need to do is expand their courthouse or renovate their current courthouse. But right now, the way the law is written, you can't use Q bonds for that. Right. This would change that.
Right. This would take care of that. And we have 2 counties where that would be very impactful. And that is Columbia County. They have a gorgeous, I think they have the prettiest courthouse in our whole district. And they need to just remodel it. That's what they need to do. We were able to get them some money for it last time. They need to do more work. You hear constantly about Tillamook's courthouse. We don't have enough room. We don't have enough courts. We don't have enough office space. Well, we can use what we've got, but, quite possibly we need to add on something or reconfigure. That's remodeling. We can't get the money for that. So that's why this bill, even though it's very simple, is also very important.
And it's a small fix. Q bonds already exist. They're already being used for building new courthouses. This is just adding on, and there's not a lot of courthouses that are going to go with this. But when a county goes for a coupon, they have to have matching dollars, right? So the, if a if they're doing a remodel, likely that's going to cost a lot less than a new build. So
Right.
their matching dollars are going to have to be a lot less. So before now, their options were either pay for the remodel totally on their own, or using outside sources, or save a bunch more money for their matching dollars to build a brand new courthouse. So I think we're in a situation that we're going to be able to actually follow the law, which is that it is the law that counties have to provide
Yes.
adequate courtrooms, jury rooms, and offices. That's the law. So I've heard Tillamook, people say, they don't need anything. They just going to renovate and to give themselves some brand new offices. Look, I get it, but it's the law that we have to make sure that we have this. If this is not taken care of soon, we're going to get sued and be in contempt of court.
The other thing is, justice is not served. Justice is not served if we don't have the physical space to be able to provide people who need to come into court to be able to come in.
And I don't know if you've ever been in or done jury duty in that smaller courtroom in Tillamook.
Yeah, I have.
It's kind of freaky how close you are to everybody.
Yes.
It's very difficult for the counsel to speak to their client without being heard by the prosecutor. It's not sufficient.
It's not
sufficient. So Tillamook does have to do something, and this is a great opportunity in our district to handle those two cases, especially. But there are beautiful courthouses throughout the entire state that really probably do need some work. And this is an opportunity to be able to save those architectural beauties, not knock them down, and be able to actually fund to make sure that gets done.
Yes.
So we're going to be watching that. It's to the House.
I also testified on the CREF bills because we have 3 areas in our district in Rainier and Astoria and one other.
Probably want to say what CREF means.
Actually, it's one of those acronyms that I don't remember what it means. But what it would do is give us a little additional money for building a museum in Rainier, working on the film museum in Clatsop County, and then in Columbia County, making sure that their museum could go forward also. So, it's preserving our historical museums and our historical memorabilia in in a way that is fitting. And, the people in Rainier have been raising money for a long time. They have the land, and they're just short a little bit to be able to start construction. And so I did go and testify in favor of that also. And next time we do this, I'll tell you what CREF means.
Okay? You know what? I know what it is. I just don't know what the acronym means. So I'm sorry, I put you on the spot when I didn't actually know myself. That was
thank you.
I know what it means. I know what it is. I just don't know what the acronym. We have too many acronyms. Well, I think that's all we have to talk about today, Senator. And we've got a busy week ahead of us. Monday is a legal holiday, but unfortunately,
not for me.
You're working. You'll be on the floor. You'll be in committee. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. So please do remember all of those action items we asked you to take part in, particularly in Senate Bill 1556, asking for a yes vote on the Joint Committee on Transportation and on HB 4106.
Hey, I know what it is.
Oh, yes.
I know what it is. It's the Cultural Resource Economic Fund.
I knew it was an arts fund. I didn't, but okay, that's great. HB 4106 encourage you to submit testimony or register to testify. That is in the House Agricultural Committee on Tuesday. Senator, anything else?
No.
I am losing my voice, and I've had a cold
I
for
know.
like a week, and we've been talking for the last few hours because we talked for like an hour before this, and I think I'm shot.
I think you need to go and just sit back, watch a little football. No, not football, basketball.
Basketball, yep.
And just relax a little bit.
I have a dear friend who tells me that the cure for everything is 2 Aleve and 3 bourbon. And I think I may just take her up on that.
Where I lived in northern Minnesota, the cure for everything was to get in the sauna.
The sauna. Oh my
God. And I worked for a man that when he would feel a cold coming on, he would go to the liquor store and get a pint, and he and his pint would go to the sauna. And when he got out of the sauna, the pint would be gone, and so would his cold.
You think that the pint would be paid for by his health insurance, right? I mean,
you would think so.
Gym membership and your liquor store bill should be paid for.
Yes,
I bet we can get a bill for that.
He lived to a ripe old age, and
On that note, Senator, have a wonderful week. Thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you all next week.
Next week, same time, same place. Bye.